Hey YouTube, this is Ben Yessel. How's it going? Just a quick video here. I know I've been making a few more videos recently than usual. But at least there was a little bit of a hiatus I had before Christmas, and then made a few um, while it's on Christmas break, and now I'm back to normal busyness. So I've learned of something recently. Some things happening to Dr. Peterson, Jordan Peterson. I've talked about him a little bit before. This was some few years back, I think, when I first started listening to him. And if you don't know, Dr. Peterson, Dr. Jordan Peterson, is a clinical psychologist in Canada. And I think he also is a philosophy professor. So he's a psychology professor. I don't know. At least he teaches philosophy. So he does both stuff, psychology, philosophy stuff. And he has, well, I guess growing up he had more left-leaning views than I don't even know if I'd call it that. When he was younger, he had differing views than some of the people that he was around in Alberta, but he's known as being conservative. So I mean, he's libertarian, he's conservative, but he's more the type of conservative that is not at all big business type, where he's not establishment. I mean, that's what I meant to say. He's not establishment type. Very much independent, very much conservative. So I mean, it goes without saying, Jordan Peterson and I are in agreement on almost everything. If you listen to Jordan Peterson, it's like you're listening to me. He's just a lot more. I think he has a better way with words than me. I don't know. I'm a composer, so. Um. Anyway, but yet Peterson is, I think, of British ancestry, British or Scottish, or I think it's British. Yeah, British ancestry. Just his nationality is Canadian. So the news, unless you've heard of this happening, um, right now there's kind of a crackdown on Jordan Peterson being such a public figure on YouTube and the world, uh, and it's got to the point where, um, I mean the degree to which everybody knows about him and the degree to which he's hated. I say vehemently hated, loathed. Loathing is a good way of putting it. Loathed by um, liberals or far left wing folks in Canada and elsewhere. Um, and the intensity of the anger is such that there's a board of psychologists in Canada that they're considering like revoking his license to practice psychology or whatever. Um, I mean, it's ridiculous because everything that is the complaints are all political. They're all it's all just people that don't like what he's saying. It had nothing to do with at all with his practice as a psychologist or for that matter, anything. I don't know. I haven't heard of anything regarding how he's been as a professor in the university. I mean, it's just hatred of what he's saying, of his own views about things. And if someone can, and then they're trying to get him to take back what he's saying, as though it was unprofessional, or he should have never said anything to begin with. This is I don't know if you guys know this, but this is kind of a really really big deal because if the government, Justin Trudeau's government in Canada, or if they can force Jordan Peterson to like recant, right? Really, they can force him to um, you know, sign a little thing saying, I don't know. There's a few different options he has, but if they can essentially defang Jordan Peterson just because he has more conservative views, what does that mean for everyone else who has conservative or libertarian whatever views? And instantly, by the way, it's not just Jordan Peterson. I mean, I don't know if you guys also know this, but Bill Mayer of all people used to be. Well, I mean, for the longest time, I mean, Bill Mayer was famously liberal or famously supported Democratic Party. I I I don't know if he still is. I don't think so. He leans to the left, yes, but Bill Mayer has Bill. I'm sorry, Bill Maher. I always mispronounce his last name. I always do. Bill. It's spelled Maher, but it's Bill Maher. Okay. The gentleman, so Bill Maher is he's been saying a lot of things recently that are not very friendly to, we'll say, the establishment and the Democratic Party, or all the he's been kind of giving the bird to a lot of the Biden, Kamala Harris crowd, and all the crazy mask people. I don't know, and all this stuff. He's he's not okay. I would think. Wait, was Stephen Colbert? Is Stephen Colbert still liberal? Yeah, he's still very much liberal. Um, but I think Colbert is understanding what's going on for sure. With Barr, they've talked, I'm sure, a lot. And then another guy, Keith Olbermann, who I think that's right, Anderson Cooper. Thinking of all the people that have been moderators in presidential elections. Um, I haven't really heard from those guys very much at all for a while. Um, I'm mentioning all this stuff because it's kind of like okay. What Bill Maher is saying is basically sums it up right now. It's sheer lunacy. It's sheer lunacy. Regarding what is happening with um, the far left, but only some of the folks in the far left. It's only some. It's always only some. The people that don't seem crazy to me at all, the people that seem very fine and good are people that just simply have liberal views that um, they don't get bent out of shape when they hear stuff along the lines of young men want to hear about being more responsible and um, all just the things that help people feel better. Um, Sane people want people that are both men and women, obviously, to be happier, be more productive in life. That means you need to build people up, which is what Jordan Peterson does. So, of course, there's a segment of the far left that is not so much that way, that wants to, I don't know what the problem with white men is, but I don't know why some far left people hate basically me or anyone who's white and a man. But it's insane. It's absolutely insane. if the Nazis hated the Jews, then far left people, many of them hate white men that are Christian or whatever. I suppose they would lump Mormons in the same group. I don't know. Right? Because we all, regardless of actual circumstances in life, we all had silver spoons in our mouth, and are we all benefit from white privilege and all this endless garbage, right? If we if people got a little bit of help because they're white in the past, that's definitely not the case anymore at all. It just you don't. It's it doesn't this kind of stuff. This institutional racism really doesn't exist, or it's been squashed out. I mean, if it does exist, I don't know, it's reverse racism or something. That's not what I want to talk about. Let's get back to Jordan Peterson. So he's being forced to, or he can go to these people to kind of have counseling or retrain him to. And then he's like, no, no, no. You know what I think is going to happen is he's going to have his license revoked, and he's just not practicing psychology anymore. Anyway, he's making money from his books. He has plenty of money to begin with, and he's going to fight this, and he's going to win because it's a clear violation of freedom of speech. If there ever was one, it's a clear violation of freedom of speech. Many people that are psychologists or professors everybody's backing Jordan Peterson. Nobody's fighting him because this is the weirdest thing of all. The only thing that Jordan Peterson ever fought it wasn't even feminism. It was distorted views of feminism. It was distorted views of feminism. It was feminism that had gone awry sometime in the hippie era, and then it's gotten worse ever since then. It used to be fine, great, and now it's become something very different. Other than that whole thing, I don't understand it. There are people that feel, honestly, like unless you're a liberal, you're a Nazi. That's how crazy some people are these days. There's just no more common sense. I mean, I'm asking myself, what's happened to people? Um, if Jordan Peterson is silenced, it's the idea that see again, if you have liberal views, you can speak your mind freely. But if you have conservative views, no, you can't. No, but that was that kind of are we forcing everybody who's American or Canadian or everybody in the West now to be liberal? Is that a compulsory thing? Is it more professional if someone's a liberal rather than a conservative? Are they less professional if they're a conservative? Most people that are behind all this stuff, all this nonsense, they won't answer that kind of straight question. But we know we know what the answer is. Some people actually do believe that it's in their own minds it's less professional to be a conservative because then we're rabble rousers or we're trying to start fights or something like that, insurrection. And it's actually the opposite. What conservatives, more independent type conservatives, just like Jordan Peterson, are trying to do is we're trying to preserve things that ought to be preserved, like our liberties, like freedom of speech, whatever we can preserve in our American society or Canadian society or whatever. You know. And so there are a lot of people on the left that are realizing what's going on, and they say, I'm sick and tired of it. The days of the little guy being a Democrat are far and away gone. I know that the Democrats are still going to want to try to appeal to the Robert Redford type liberals. The way the liberals used to be seen and portrayed in the Kennedy era, right? The young progressives that at the time they were advocating for things that Nixon wasn't, or they didn't want to fight in a war, right? And they were very suspicious of the Big Brother, and the Big Brother was very white and Republican at the time. Yep. How things have changed. It is not the 60s anymore. Not at all. It's not the 70s. Not the 80s. Not the 90s. Not the 2000s. Not the 2010s. It's the 2020s. And liberals have become completely whacked out. Those, at least those that are attacking Jordan Peterson. I've seen some of the things that have been happening. If somebody is simply saying what I say in my videos, and they're a professor, they have a lot more views because they are able to speak so well, right? They have such poise. Jordan Peterson says exactly what I want to say, but yet he is getting all this backlash, and he's being asked to no, no. Jordan Peterson is right, and those guys are wrong. Again, he's not going to take back anything he said. That's what he's been saying for the longest time. He means it. Everything he says, you know. So yeah, they're gonna, he's gonna get his license revoked. Then he's gonna challenge it. And he's gonna win. If he doesn't win, if he does not win, we know for sure that Canada is no longer a place that honors freedom of speech. Let that sink in, folks. If Jordan Peterson gets his license revoked because he's not willing to, whatever, play nice, you know, and his lawyer takes the court and everything, and they lose, and I mean Jordan loses the court. There's a question, of course, of can he continue to say what he wants to say? Yes, but he's no longer going to be able to practice psychology, or whatever. But that's still a violation of freedom of speech. And if that happens, there's going to be no end to the number of incidents that you're going to start to see regarding far left liberals, whatever, accusing conservatives of being unprofessional because they've simply said what they think about whatever. And it's going to start in Canada. I don't know. Maybe it started in Europe already at some level. And it's just going to keep growing. It's going to keep going to different places. And we're not going to see the end of this until the end of the world. But the funny thing is, when you guys are hearing this, you're hearing this right versus left thing, conservative versus liberal. It's just, look, if you hear something, let's take a little different angle on this. If you hear something that sounds upsetting, I think just to take a different angle here, I'm going to talk about anti-Mormonism for a bit. Anti-Mormonism tends to come more from conservatives than from liberals, because liberals really tend to not really bother people about their religion, really. It's kind of like, oh, liberals are just, it's your religion. I have my thing. We're all happy. That's one of the foundational things I know about liberals. Right? So conservatives are really more the ones that would get on my case for being Mormon. Um, and they've said some very nasty things there have been some extremely nasty things said about my church, of course. Beyond nasty, like insulting and angering and really vicious stuff. So they're able to print things, they're able to say things because this is a nation where you can do that. Imagine though, imagine just for a second, if the anti-Mormons couldn't even say that they objected to my church. So everyone was forced to either everyone, and I do mean everyone, was forced to be Mormon or Christian or whatever Christian church or whatever other church, someone thought was, it's a one church thing. And if they questioned it, or they questioned, so whatever the anti-Mormon believed, everyone had to believe. And if they questioned the anti-Mormon, I guess what I'm trying to say is that freedom of speech means that people can speak their minds freely, whether we agree with them or not, and it's a it's a fundamental human right that at least we have in the United States. It's one of the things that makes the United States, because a lot of countries don't let you do that. You can't speak your mind freely, or you'll be in jail, or you'll be killed, or I don't know what. Well, if an anti-Mormon were to not say what they were going to say, or not print pamphlets, or not attack people at Temple Square, verbally or whatever, well, we think, oh, that's great, right? Because now they're not giving us a bad time anymore. Well, yeah, but you're not really getting an anti-Mormon person's honest views about something. However they feel about my church, no matter how bitter it is, whatever it is, you're not going to hear their real feelings. You're not going to hear the real thoughts. It's going to be something that they're going to be compelled to say or feel. Who wants to be compelled, forced, we'll say forced to say or feel some way about something? Who wants to be indoctrinated? I know we hear that word indoctrination a lot. It's a tricky thing because you can say that kids are easily indoctrinated about stuff, and I do agree, kids are easily indoctrinated about stuff. And so when you talk to kids, by the way, about sexual matters, like when they're 5 years old, that's a definition of evil right there. So, uh, yeah, kids are malleable. You want to only say things that are true. Only say things that are true to kids. You only want to behave in the best way possible because kids are sponges and they'll pick everything up. They're very impressionable, as we know. We know this is common knowledge. So, but I believe in a society. I believe in a nation or way of life where the good and the bad are said. At least at this point in my life, I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the Declaration of Independence. I believe Bill of Rights. I believe in all that stuff. I believe that everybody has a fair. Everybody should have a fair. Everybody should have an equal voice, or at least that no voice should be silenced. And so that means everybody. And if somebody's voice is squashed, then that means that anybody's voice can be squashed because there was censorship. There was um, it was done. Something was done. So we'd say, well, let's say it's only we're living in a society now where only either conservative or anti-establishment things are squashed. Okay, who's to say that you know even amongst more liberal trains of thought, let's say the hippies I'll say all people that lean to the left are all now, they're all required to be lockstep with the government. Whatever the government deems that we should do as a people, all the hipsters and all the new age thinkers or all the, yeah, I don't know, all the people that are more liberal, they have to uh, go along with, and gladly and cheerfully with uh, whatever the government wants us to do. That is, I'm talking about things that are not, um, some things a government can legally do, or rightfully do, in my opinion, yes. Other things, no, the government should not be able to do. And there's some debate as to what the government can, uh, we'll say ethically, what a government can ethically do. There's some debate to that, sure. Um, I don't know where the end of this is, folks. I mean, do you guys understand the significance of what's happening? I mean, just imagine if if everybody was forced to be, you fill in the blanks. If we were all forced to be, um, yeah, we were all forced to be gay Boy Scouts that were, I don't know, and we all were forced to wear, a lot of pink, a lot of cutesy merit badges. So Boy Scouts is completely different than the old Boy Scout thing. This is not, but everybody, Boy Scouts was a requirement. Whether you're a boy or girl, you had to wear a scout uniform, and you had to. Well, I was required. The Boy Scouts was part of my church's youth program. It's not the case anymore, of course. Um, so I mean, I know what that feels like, but that's a different kind of coercion. I'm talking about, just imagine everybody in the United States. It doesn't matter how old you are. Everybody had to be a Boy Scout, or everybody had to. So then the leader of the Boy Scouts might as well be the emperor, or the head dog. It's just such an absurd thought, right? Well, that's what's happening. If we don't have a far left, I say establishment. If we don't have an establishment leftist train of thought, or just if we don't have an establishment train of thought, if we're not in favor of if we're not in favor of the establishment, um, then what we're going to be saying, everything, you know, people will be able to come after us and ruin our lives and take away our jobs and take away our money and take away whatever we have. Just imagine that. That's not the America I want to live in. Is that the well? Is that the place you want to live? Is that the country culture you want to live in? No, we want to live in the way where a country where you can believe what you want to believe, say what you want to say, without any repercussions, um, about your views about things, and people will say, "Huh, that's interesting. That's awesome. I actually like that." Or I might feel a little differently about this or this, but I like this or this. We want to live in a place like that. Uh, I would think we also want to live in a country where people have common sense and can recognize when they're hearing common sense. And common sense with Jordan Peterson was glorified because so many people weren't speaking in a sensible way. Just think about that. And these people that a lot of people that were younger were subjected to, When I was in high school, with all my humanities classes, I learned about a variety of different literary figures and things, and it was always a variety, whether it was philosophy or literature or drama or culture or something. It was never all leftist, or it was never all woke stuff. It was never all politically correct. It was just diverse in all kinds of diversity, all kinds of ways. I never felt like there was some agenda that's being pushed. I did feel though that church, school was definitely more secular, of course, than church. That was, but it was never not even remotely on the same page. What's happening compared to what's happening right now? And so I just leave in thoughts and comments below. I'll catch you guys later. Take care. Bye.